As the reporting goes, and I want to emphasize, as the reporting goes, 3 Iranian gunboats essentially tried to either push, board, or seize a British tanker. It was warded off by essentially verbal commands and guns pointed at it by a Navy vessel. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. And yes, this is Groundhog Today. You've seen me do this story maybe once or twice before. I hate it the last time I did the story, so I kind of want to make it more concise and be more specific. Ultimately, I'm just going to give you the information on this story, and I will give you my opinion on, I guess you could say, how I weigh this information. As reporting goes, 3 boats believed to be gunboats, believed to belong to the Revolutionary Guard, approached a British oil tanker, a commercial vessel. It tried to push that vessel into Iranian waters, at least that's the belief. And some go further, saying it tried to seize or either board. Now, if you remember, recently, over the last week, Britain has boarded and seized an Iranian tanker that it believed was carrying oil to Syria. It did this at the behest of the United States. Going further, today, they arrested the captain of that tanker and the co-captain of that tanker. So the overt narrative here is that Iran is responding to Britain's seizure of their ship. That's essentially the narrative that the news has been going with, that this was Iran, this was absolutely Iran, that Iran was totally guilty of this, and that Iran tried to board, seize, take that ship in retaliation. But I do want it to be clear that whatever the framing of the story, that retaliation means that something else happened first. This was not the initial strike. This was a retaliatory strike, if it was a retaliatory strike by this particular party at all. Going beyond this point, the ships, the 3 gunboats, were warded off when a Navy vessel interceded in between them, pointed its guns at them, and told them to go away. Now, the reason why I say the reported story on this, because it's unclear on how much of this is true, if any of it is true at all, because this is contradictory accounts. Iran's foreign minister, Jarif, I want to get his name correct, I'll have to mispronounce it. Iran's foreign minister, Mohammad Javad Zarif, rejected this entirely, saying this didn't happen. Apparently, the British tanker had passed. What they have said themselves and the claims that they have made are for creating tension, and these claims have no value. He's saying it didn't happen. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard is saying it didn't happen. Some of the reporters on the ground for the Al Jazeera kind of made the point that if Iran was responsible for this, meaning if those boats belonged to Iran that was stopping this tanker, that the way the military structure is, it would have only come down for commands. It wouldn't have been something that somebody did willy-nilly. They would have been commanded to do it. Now, second point. The countries that are involved in this are the UK and the United States. The UK is a patsy nation of the United States, meaning that the US has had the expressed goal of ratcheting up tensions with Iran. And with a country with the express goal of ratcheting up tensions with Iran, and that has screamed weapons of mass destruction in the past, and with a cast of characters that lie and kill remorselessly and easily. Gina Haspel, literally torturing people at the death camps in Thailand, and got caught destroying the records of that torture. Mike Pompeo, who sat on a stage and screamed at the height of his lungs that he lied and stole for a living. John Bolton, who was literally fighting the International Criminal Court because he himself could be held liable for war crimes. And Donald Trump, who nobody believes him for anything that he says on a domestic front. This cast of characters, however, are supposed to be believed in this situation. And I'm saying this cast of characters because the UK was working at the behest of the United States when it seized that boat in the first place. And the people that are involved in this, the UK. It's the UK. Is it possible that this happened in the way that the story is being reported? Yes. It is possible that Iran is indeed responding to the fact that their boat was seized by the UK. It is possible. This is happening in the Strait of Hormuz. What, a fifth of the world's oil go through that strait, and Iran has said in the past that they would, that if we don't want oil getting through, that it won't get through. And they also kind of made this point once before that Iran had threatened to board one of the UK's tankers in response to the UK boarding and taking their tanker. It's possible that all of this is happening in the way that it is being reported. It is also, however, possible that there are stagecraft being involved in this. If you think back to the Iraq War, think back to the thing you remember most about the Iraq War. Most people would say that statue being pulled down. You can see it in your head. Saddam's statue being yanked down by the people and people hitting it with shoes and whatnot. That wasn't real. The people hitting it with shoes might have been real. They might have been standing around. But it was stagecraft for that to take place and for the media to be there to film it. And for it to be filmed and for the look of it and for the feel and the texture and everything else. It was stagecraft. Stagecraft has become part of the war arsenal. Is it possible that there was a boat there? Yes. Zarif himself makes note that yes, there was a boat there. But he makes a point that the tanker had passed. Now, is it possible that those boats interrupted that boat to harass it? Yes, it's possible. Is it possible that those boats didn't belong to Iran? It's possible. It's possible that they did. Yes, it's possible. I am making the point that all sorts of things in this story are possible, but it's hard to know whether or not the story is in the exact way that the story is being reported, let alone whether or not the point was to seize the tanker in the way that some of the reporting is taking place. Meaning some of the reporting is going so far as to say they were trying to seize the boat. Trying to seize the boat. Be skeptical. That's all I'm saying. Both of these countries are involved in a pressure campaign with Iran. Be skeptical. More news, I would imagine, will be reported on this as the story unfolds. But the Revolutionary Guard is saying, yeah, that didn't happen. The foreign minister is saying that didn't happen. The UK and Britain is saying it happened. And the US are further in saying, we have footage. The US has footage of everything. We have footage. We have footage. One last point. There's a difference in somebody responding to something and versus somebody doing something. The US has created a pressure campaign unilaterally against Iran. The US unilaterally pulled out of the JCPOA. The US unilaterally ratcheted up sanctions. The US has unilaterally done all of this stuff and tried to push and cajole other nations around the world to join them in this escapade. The rest of the world, for the most part, was against us on this. People who were our partners in every other situation was against us on this very particular course of action, but they were half-ass not helping Iran. Meaning, Iran stayed with the JCPOA for over a year after the US pulled out. And Europe kept saying, we're going to help you, we're going to help you, we're going to do something, but at the end of the day, didn't do anything to alleviate those sanctions. Sanctions kill. When the US implemented sanctions on Iraq, over 500,000 children died based on those sanctions. What do you think is taking place in Iran? I would wager to you that people are dying. The sanctions in Venezuela has killed upwards of nearly 50,000 people. What is taking place in Iran? I would guarantee you those sanctions are doing what sanctions have done in other countries and killing. It is killing. The US is acting unilaterally. The US is trying to get Europe to work with them, and with the Europe did not work with us on this. Britain is one of our closest allies, and as I said, a patsy government of the United States. Going so far as to seize a ship in Spain, it is unclear on whether or not this was even in British territory. But now we have this new story of a boat in Strait of Hormuz trying to be quote-unquote seized or taken or captured or harassed or whatever adjective you want to put in front of it. This will be used as pretext for something. Whatever it is, it will be used as pretext for something. This story could be legit or not. Be skeptical. And whether or not you be skeptical or otherwise, just always remember that the original inception of this was the U.S. belligerents, not Iranian belligerents. In fact, they've come across as calm, rational actors in this case, as the United States has not. The world will forget that. The world would immediately look to Iran and wag their finger at Iran and blame Iran, missing the point, ignoring, completely missing the point that all of this was the U.S. ratcheting up tensions for non-existent. Let's see. And I'll end it on this one. This video is 10 minutes, much better. Come on. Come on. Is it possible Jamarl hasn't checked Streamlabs in days? It's possible. It is not possible. I've checked Streamlabs in every video. I promise you, Balthazar, if this is you, I promise you, you just didn't show up. In fact, if you are saying you were sending Streamlabs, they weren't coming through. Yeah, they weren't coming through. All right, I'm going to end this here. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. And by the way, this is just one in a long list of items that have been taking place in the Gulf. If you remember, Saudi Arabia has also, at this point, taken an Iranian tanker, trying to say that Iran owes them, I think it was like millions of dollars in order to release the tanker. That's, for all intents and purposes, a de facto kidnapping of that ship, or pirating of that ship. The UK boarded and is now prosecuting the ship's captain of that ship, the Iranian tanker that they just boarded. They were trying to say that Iran was responsible for attacking a Japanese ship while Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan, was literally in Tehran having peace talks. Some of this stuff has been rather outrageous. I don't believe that Iran attacked that ship at all in their Gulf. It's too insane. Like, and again, I want to go back to this point that all of this is in response to the U.S. ratcheted up tensions unilaterally. Always remember this is in response to. It's not that I think it's good. It's not that I think it's the best thing in the world for ships to be attacked or for ships to be blocked or ships to be warded into other territories, ships to get involved in this kind of political thing. It's more so that I'm not looking at this with the lens of right and wrong. I'm looking at this more so through the lens of cause and effect. In the way that you attack a ship in a country, it is insane to believe that that country is not going to respond. That country will respond because any country would respond. It's just cause and effect. I'll leave it here. Thanks, all.